One of the most interesting Flaunderies innovations actually showed up out of Knoxville, of all places. Don't be the 30% of you that blah 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 have not smashed the living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so you guys don't miss out. More house content from me looking at the Knoxville Regional here. CM Games went ahead and posted all of the deck lists so we could actually get the chance to talk about this. So we had 4 Cash Hero decks in Top Cut. Wow, metagame. I don't know. I don't know what to really say about that. The fact that this deck has, it's got the strongest metagame contention out here. The deck has been very, very strong. The deck has done a lot of strong things. It's Cash Hero. Like, what more do you want me to say? We now get into the rogue category here. No super heavy samurai present for this event, which is also kind of interesting because you're going through a lot of these regionals where you're seeing, you know, either a very back and forth Cash Hero super heavy domination, or you're not seeing the other one present at all. So it's kind of interesting. We also had a Math Mech deck here doing its thing, and I will say, Math Mech shenanigans aside, I mean, it's still circular OTK. Like, the deck has degenerated into something very, very interesting at this point in time, and it has not been good to see. We also had one Labyrinth deck. I'm extremely happy to see the Labyrinths slowly showing back up out here, doing its thing. We also had a Sword Soul deck out here. Sword Soul's been old reliable, this format, depending on if you're playing the Apple Dragon package or if you're playing like the more standard build that we've seen in the past. And then we have what was referred to as one of the most hacked out Flaunderies decks of modern era time. And I will tell you, it is kind of nice to see Flaunder actually getting some innovations out here. Ever since the loss of Barrier Statue, this deck feels like it's kind of struggled to get things off the ground. But it is kind of nice to see that players are bringing new ideas to the table. So let's pass on over and take a look at really what we're expecting out of this regional. You can tell it's going to be a good regional breakdown when the first Cash Hero deck you see is playing Trickstar Reincarnation out here. Who let this happen? Who let this deck win the regional? Who also wakes up and goes, you know, I'm already main deck controlling Lockbird out here. Let's go ahead and take this one step further. Let's play Trickstar Reincarnation. I bet I can get at least one person with it. I would be physically disgusted if my opponent, you know, set up, you know, like full board, and then they get one search off, and then you reincarnation draw them, and that you just wipe them out of the game. That is beautiful. That is the level of Yu-Gi-Oh! BS that I live for in this game. And the fact that this Cheese won a regional is hilarious. Once again, kudos for this. This is what makes the format fun. All right, next up here is Sword. Wow, Sword Soul got second place. Really? Okay. Well, interesting. I will say that I'm not really surprised to see that Sword Soul, you know, got the chance to do well. I mean, straight off the bat, I mean, Crimson Blader is a good card. Book of Eclipses, flipping down anything problematic. And, I mean, how many times can you hit the Droll and Lockbird against all of your opponents? Like, let's call it what it is at this point in time. Also, Gravity Collapse down here. Also getting the chance to see a little bit of love as well. I do like that a lot. Cheese Gravity Collapse against certain opponents literally will nail coffin your opponent. Outside of that, I mean, it's still Sword Soul. This is by far the definition of what I mean by old reliable in terms of, you know, what you're expecting out here. So, very, very well. Good stuff. Maybe an Apple Dragon or two could spice this up, but if this worked out, I wouldn't want to mess around with it. Next up here, we have our next Cash Hero deck. Back to good old boring Cash Hero out here, where we strip out those Trickstar Reincarnations that we no longer need. I see that we are playing, yeah, we're playing Nightmare Corrupt Ridley down here in the side deck. You know, the fact that Lingaribo is just all but nigh in the format, like, Lingaribo falling out of the format is a pretty good clear indicator here that players just no longer care about the Nightmare Corrupt Ridley lag. And considering the fact that players were literally just screeching at the top of their lungs, wanting, you know, Nightmare Corrupt Ridley banned, on the fact that, you know, there's not playing, you know, outs for this. I would say that's now on them. Outside of that, list feels once again very standard. You'll be hearing me say that a lot this video because for your cash tier innovations, it doesn't get much more exciting, unfortunately. Next up here is Flanders. Okay, so what makes this so interesting? See, right off the bat here, we're playing Small World in my Flanders deck. Okay, our extra deck is just absolutely tricked out. I mean, like, we're doing some things here. I see that we are playing the Nadir Servant package in this build. We'd seen Nadir Servant a long time ago, actually, in some of the earliest Flanders builds that we're trying to take advantage of it. I mean, like, as long as there's something on the extra deck, you know, it's a free extension setup. I mean, it's not like you can't, you know, activate field spell, do your additional normal through there. If your opponent interrupts you, well, then that's where you kind of cry at the end of the day. But for all of your different lines of play, very, very interesting. And just two duality, 2 Pot of Prosperity. Interesting for ratios. Next up here is our next Kashtira deck. Now, man, this build's even more cookie cutter than the last one. Playing 40 cards. We opted to not play Droll and Lockbird in any sort of combination. This duelist was, they opted for Nibiru over, they opted for Nibiru. Okay, I feel like Droll and Lockbird is just such a higher impact card that you see it, you win the game, I feel like, in certain situations. And the fact that we cut this out here doesn't exactly feel good by my personal standing. Okay, well, interesting. I hope that, you know, the more standard builds that we continue to see for this will do good. But I also want to see this deck spicing itself up. The levels of excitement that we're seeing out here for this, very, very low energy. Alright, next up here, we have our MathMech deck. Well, here's the good news about MathMech. While we have seen a lot of the Firewall Defensor builds actually showing up, it has been very nice to see that people can pick up their old builds and still do well. Robbie, what about the Neo Tempest Terahertz? I mean, builds have shown up not playing Neo Tempest Terahertz at this point in time. You kind of flip the coin on whichever side of the argument you want to get on into here, if you want to play the Neo Tempest Terahertz or not. At this point in time, I feel like you do play it because it helps the deck out so much more in terms of what you want to do. You do see the 5 Rainbow Magician down here as well for Super Heavy Samurai. I mean, not like you're really worried about Super Heavy Samurai out of this event, right? I mean, not like a single one of them managed to make it into Top Cut, right? There is no Super Heavy Samurai in Tennessee. It's still so strange to me, but all right, very, very standard list. Next up here, we have the Power of Labyrinth. Now, this build, actually, we cited the Eradicator Epidemic Virus. Man, this IKEA build really, really, really wanted to focus more on the furniture. There's a lot more furniture in this build than I'm really used to seeing, and a lot less of the trap cards. Isn't trap cards supposed to be one of the best parts about this deck? And this version of IKEA is looking a little bit short on those. But we do have hand traps in here, which is good. Gamma has definitely moved into being a mainstay in here. The amount of people at the beginning of this format that were like, no, we shouldn't play Gamma. Statistical data has now proven you completely wrong. I see we're also playing Magic Deflector down here in the side deck as well. We're playing a Ceasefire for Time. Okay, well, you know, interesting. I can't say that I'm all that surprised. And of course, do we actually make Psychic M Punisher in this deck? Interesting, but that's our version of IKEA for this video. And then we also followed up here with our last version of Kashtira. Now this one is playing the Light Force Sword. We saw Light Force Sword show up a couple of times. It hasn't been a mainstay tech choice out here, but the fact that you can Light Force Sword a card out of your opponent's hand and then Arise Heart it and suck it up as a material underneath the Arise Heart, it turns into a free hand rip at the end of the day, and that's the value that you want with this deck. So overall, good stuff. So what do you guys think about the breakdown for Knoxville? Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.